Who took care of money when banks, as we know them today, did not yet exist? How did people protect their assets, carry out exchanges, and ensure that value was preserved over time? Before the rise of modern banking institutions, different societies developed their own solutions to manage wealth and facilitate trade. Historical records indicate that these practices varied according to culture, historical period, and level of social organization. There was no single or universal model. In many societies, money did not even take the form we recognize today. Throughout this video, we will explore how value was defined, who assumed the role of managing it, what mechanisms sustained trust in these systems, and how, gradually, these arrangements gave rise to modern banks, all from a historical, educational, and evidence-based perspective. Before the existence of modern banks, the concept of money was broader and more flexible. In certain historical periods, money was not represented solely by metal coins, but by various types of goods that were socially accepted as a means of exchange and a store of value. Historical records indicate that precious metals such as gold and silver were widely used because of their durability, relative scarcity, and ease of division. However, these were not the only recognized forms of value. In many agricultural societies, grains such as wheat, barley, and rice played a central role in economic exchanges. These products had value because they were essential for survival and could be stored for reasonable periods of time. In some regions of Mesopotamia, for example, clay tablets recorded quantities of grain delivered, stored, or promised, functioning as units of account. In addition, goods such as salt, textiles, livestock, shells, and even tools were used as forms of money in specific contexts. The value of these items was directly linked to their practical usefulness, regional availability, and social recognition. In many societies, money was less a standardized object and more a collective agreement about what could represent value. Another important aspect was the use of recorded promises. In certain periods, individuals and institutions issued documents representing future obligations, such as the payment of a specific quantity of goods. These records were not physical money, but they functioned as economic instruments, allowing transactions to take place without the immediate exchange of material goods. It is important to note that there was no single or standardized financial system. Each society developed its own solutions, adapted to its economic needs, available resources, and social structures. What was considered money in one region might have no value at all in another. This diversity shows that money, before becoming a formal institution, was a social construct based on agreements, cultural practices, and practical needs. Without formal banks, the management of value was carried out by different institutions and individuals, depending on the historical and cultural context. In many ancient societies, religious temples played a central role in this process. Historical records indicate that temples functioned as secure places to store precious metals, grains, and other goods. The religious authority and social respect associated with these spaces helped reinforce the trust placed in them. Palaces and administrative centers also assumed similar functions. In certain periods, local authorities and rulers centralized the collection of taxes and the redistribution of resources. These administrative hubs kept detailed records of goods entering and leaving, effectively operating as economic centers. Merchants and commercial houses likewise played an important role. In regions with intense trade, especially along land and maritime routes, experienced merchants began to offer services such as safekeeping, currency exchange, and credit. These commercial houses were not banks in the modern sense, but they performed comparable functions, relying on reputation, experience, and extensive trade networks. Influential families could also act as managers of value. In some contexts, families with significant wealth or social prestige safeguarded assets. For others, facilitated loans and mediated transactions. These practices were deeply rooted in personal trust and social standing. It is important to understand that these institutions did not emerge as mechanisms of economic control, but as practical responses to societal needs. The expansion of trade, the accumulation of surpluses, and the growing complexity of exchanges required structures capable of organizing, protecting, and recording value. The management of money was therefore a shared social function, carried out by different actors, each fulfilling roles shaped by their specific historical context. Trust was a central element in ancient economic systems. Without standardized institutional guarantees, exchanges relied heavily on the credibility of the individuals and institutions involved. Historical records indicate that written contracts, even simple ones, played a fundamental role in economic organization. Clay tablets, parchments, and papyri were used to record debts, future deliveries, and commercial agreements. These documents served as proof of commitment and helped reduce disputes. In many societies, witnesses were also involved in formalizing agreements, reinforcing the social validity of transactions. Reputation carried significant weight. Merchants known for their honesty were able to establish broader and longer-lasting commercial relationships. Similarly, temples and recognized authorities inspired trust because of their stability and continuity over time. Community trust was reinforced by social norms, local laws, and customs. In certain periods, failure to honor agreements could result in social sanctions, loss of prestige, or legal punishment. These mechanisms helped sustain economic activity without the need for formal banking structures. It is important to emphasize that these systems function because they were integrated into the social, religious, and political life of communities. The management of money was not an isolated activity, but part of a broader network of social relationships. This integration helped maintain stability in exchanges and in the circulation of value. Although functional within their contexts, ancient systems of value management had significant limitations. One of the main challenges was the lack of standardization. Different regions used distinct units of value, which made large-scale trade more difficult. The transport of physical goods, such as precious metals or grain, involved considerable risks. Theft, loss, and damage were common, especially over long distances. Even with escorts or security measures, transportation represented a high cost. Another limiting factor was the reliance on personal trust. As commercial networks expanded beyond local communities, it became more difficult to assess the reputation of those involved. This restricted the reach of transactions and increased uncertainty. In addition, records, while effective, could be lost, damaged, or misinterpreted. The absence of standardized verification systems made the resolution of disputes more complex. These factors did not make ancient systems unworkable, but they limited their efficiency as economies grew more complex. As regional and international trade expanded, the need for more efficient ways to manage value became increasingly clear. Historical records indicate that from the Middle Ages onward, especially in regions such as Europe and the Middle East, commercial houses began to specialize in financial services. These institutions started to offer currency exchange, value safekeeping, and lending in a more structured manner. Over time, they developed standardized methods of record-keeping and settlement, reducing risk and facilitating large-scale transactions. Modern banks did not emerge abruptly, but rather as a practical evolution of earlier systems. They incorporated long-standing practices such as detailed records and asset custody, adapting them to increasingly complex economies. Eventually, state regulation and the development of standardized currencies strengthened these institutions. Banks came to play a central role in the economy, facilitating investment, trade, and economic growth. In this way, modern banks can be understood as the result of centuries of social and economic experimentation. They represent a historical response to the limitations of earlier systems, built upon the human need to organize, protect, and manage value with growing efficiency. If this content has expanded your understanding of the history of money and shown how societies gradually built the economic systems we use today, support this work now. Leave a like so this video can reach more people interested in history and economics. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss upcoming documentary episodes, and activate the notification bell to stay updated on every new release. Now, take a moment to reflect. Which of these ancient systems do you find most interesting or most effective for its time? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your participation strengthens the historical discussion and helps this channel continue producing educational, in-depth, and reliable content.